How's it going, everyone? My name is Derek Afasi. I'm the owner of Afasi Financial Group and RetireSharp.com. Today's topic, I want to discuss with you a 401k rollover rules and fully explain the different pros and cons and help eliminate any sort of gray areas you might experience when looking to do a 401k rollover, specifically into a traditional IRA account or even a Roth conversion. So there's a couple different ways on how you could do this, but please understand how those rules work, and I'll try to do my best to show you the benefits of a 401k, the benefits of rolling over, and when somebody is eligible to do that rollover, without falling victim to very common mistakes. So a 401k plan is something known as a qualified employer-sponsored retirement plan, meaning that there's certain qualifications that need to be done through the federal government, through the IRS, the Internal Revenue Code, in order to be deemed a qualified retirement account. These monies are supposed to be meant for retirement years. So typically, when an individual is eligible to go and pull monies from these accounts, it typically works that they have to wait till age 59 and a half, because that's deemed on a qualified basis as being an ideal age to start pulling out withdrawals. There's a couple of ways on how somebody could actually pull out withdrawals before that, but the most basic way is an individual has to wait till age 59 and a half in order to first start taking their retirement distributions. So this qualified retirement, just like other qualified retirement plans, such as a 403b, such as the thrift savings plan, such as a traditional IRA, all of these have certain qualification status that you have to, and certain rules that you have to abide by in order to make sure that you're not getting heavily penalized through the IRS, you're not getting heavily, hit with taxation and penalties, and basically shooting yourself in the foot when you're doing it the wrong way. And that's what I want to make sure to cover thoroughly in this video. Now, to understand how the rules work, we have to first understand what is a 401k account. What is the generic concept of a 401k, and then why does it ever make sense to do a rollover? Then how can you do a rollover to make sure that it could work out with a more successful retirement plan for you and your family? Now, a 401k is, like I mentioned before, is an employer-sponsored retirement plan, meaning that an individual is working for a private institution. That's why it's offered a 401k. If they work for a hospital, if they were a teacher, if they were a preacher, a nonprofit organization, they might be offered a 403b. Very similar, but understand that they're different. This is for private employees and private institutions. So when an individual is working for this company, they're getting paid a type of salary. So they're getting paid money each and every year. Let's say if this company is paying this person $100,000, well, when this person first starts working, they're going to get their employee benefits package. It's going to be their, their health insurance, their life insurance, any ancillary products, critical illness or dental, whatever that is. And then they're going to say, hey, we're also allowing you to contribute towards your retirement plan, and we might also give you a type of match as an incentive to place more and more dollars into this type of retirement plan. So this retirement plan, I want you to think of that like a bucket. So if this person's making $100,000 and they say, okay, I'm going to go and put 5% of my salary into the 401k plan. Well, the way that this 401k bucket grows is the combination of contributions and rate of return. So if they're putting $5,000 that year into the bucket, well, then obviously that could grow the bucket higher with $5,000 plus whatever the rate of return is that comes back. If they're putting $10,000 the next year, well, then that's 10% of that salary. That should add more to the bucket as long as this rate of return comes back positive. So always understand that there are two parts to how the growth works within a 401k account. The contributions, which are obviously controlled by the individual. If a company is giving a match, they might say to this employee, hey, you're a good employee, or we want to make sure that we're retaining our employees as an incentive. If you go and you contribute 2% of your salary, we're going to give you up to a 2% match. So that tells us that if this guy put in $5,000 into his 401k bucket that year, that's 5%. They're able to, the employer is also going to match them $2,000 because 2% of their salary of $100,000, meaning that year, $7,000 went in there as a contribution. If, let's say, they only put in $1,000, well, then they're only going to get $1,000 extra, and therefore $2,000 is going to be the contributions for the year. So the contribution can be controlled and can be increased depending upon what that employee matches, what that employer matches, but understand that that match is not guaranteed. We have some individuals that call over to our office, or some clients and prospects, that they might be getting something as high as a 5% match on their 401k. Others, these employers are just basically saying, hey, be happy you have a job. We're not going to match you anything, but we do have this type of retirement account set up for you that you could go and invest in, and make sure that you're within that qualified retirement account status. So that's what, obviously allows those contribution limits. There's also, each year there are certain maximized contributions that somebody can make into their 401k plan. It's right around 17,000, 17,500. If you're above the age of 55, you're able to contribute a little bit more than that. This is going off of 2017 rules. And you could always check the irs.gov to further look at exactly what year you're looking at this video, just to confirm if you ever want to max fund a 401k plan. So that obviously talks about the contribution side regarding the growth within that 401k bucket. The other side is rate of return. What exactly determines the rate of return with typical 401k related plans? And those are the investment options that an individual could choose. So typically they have mutual funds available to them. So they're going to have anywhere between 5 to 25 different funding options that they could choose. It might be, aggressive, it might be conservative, it might be moderate type portfolios. Or they could kind of cherry pick and say, okay, I want to put 10% into a Fidelity Contra fund. I want to put another 30% into a PIMCO total bond fund. Different sorts of diversification in there. And if this individual is allocating their funds properly out of this 5 to 25, think of them as eggs in your basket. If you're choosing the best allocation and that allocation increases, well, then you're obviously going to have a positive rate of return. If, let's say, you're choosing the wrong allocation and the market goes down, or let's say it's linked to the stock market and the market goes down like it did in 01 and 2008, well, then you're going to see a large negative to this type of bucket, and the rate of return could really have a negative impact on the growth within that bucket. So that's something to be very mindful of, is because, first off, typically these 401k related plans, individuals just think that if they're placing dollars aside into a bucket, that everything just should go up, and everything should just kind of work itself out. And time again, that's not the case. And there has to actually be a strategy set up for a proper rate of return, for a proper growth on these monies, to make sure that you're not just shooting from the hip and saying, okay, well, if the market goes up, great, but if the market goes down, oh, well, I guess I just lost a bunch of money. These are individuals. These are the same cases that you had individuals that walked into a year with $500,000 in their 401k related accounts. They were max funding their 401k plans. They were having really good rates of return into their accounts. And then all of a sudden, 2008, they got hit with a large downward market loss, anywhere between minus 30% to minus 60%. And now they look at their account 1 year later, and their account could be looking at $300,000, $200,000. That's a lifestyle change. That's something that could really impact how many more years this person has to work, is because they didn't understand how to properly allocate their funding options, or maybe the funds that were given to them, that were provided for them through their 401k, were garbage funds. And typically that is the case. This 5 to 25 are going to be very crappy type mutual fund related accounts in there, or very crappy 5 to 25 different eggs in there to choose from. So when an individual becomes eligible for a rollover, what exactly does that mean? That means that they hit a specific either age-based qualification. They might have had an employment-based qualification. There might have been a change in 401k providers, different things that allow them to say, okay, well, we understand a 401k is a qualified retirement account. When you do a rollover, what you're doing is you're rolling it over into, in this case, an individual retirement account, a traditional individual retirement account, which is still a qualified retirement account. So what happens is, rather than take the 401k monies and just pull it all out, turn it into cash, you would get fully taxed on those monies. Also, if you do that before age 59 and a half, you could get dinged with an additional 10% penalty through the IRS. So when you do a rollover, what you're doing is you're taking these funds, and it's as if it's like terms, so it's qualified to qualified. So therefore, they're not showing as if you took a distribution from your account, hitting you with the 10% penalty, hitting you with a full taxation on those monies. It just now looks like an entirely different bucket. And instead, the reason why individuals tend to do that is because rather than those 5 to 25 different options, that is, that they're only subject to choose within that 401k account. When they put into an IRA, they can have anywhere between 3,000 to 5,000 different options. So it just makes it a lot more customizable, and they could customize those plans, customize those different eggs to make sure, hey, if they need to have a little bit better growth, well, then you could put it into a little bit higher quality of, mutual fund related options or funding options in there. If let's say they want to utilize income, well, then they could take portions of their 401k, put them into IRA annuity contracts, and trigger income at specific dates of time to make sure that's correlating to those individuals' expenses. So, and all those different factors come into play, and the main takeaway is an IRA is necessary because it allows an individual to customize their plans to basically preserve their accounts better and customize their plans into a more specific avenue rather than just be subject to those limited funding options through a typical 401k related account. The first type of 401k rollover rule is when an individual leaves an employer. So let's say if you have an individual that's working with company A and now they start working for company B, well, automatically if they had a 401k with company A, now they're eligible to go and roll those monies over either into company B's 401k retirement account, or a wiser decision is typically rolling that over into an individual retirement account. Reason being is because the IRA could give them up to over 3,000 different options to choose from, more customizable eggs, as opposed to company B, which you're still stuck with that 5 to 25 different options to choose from with that 401k. So usually when somebody severs employment, either they got fired or now they're just working for another company, or they're not working for a company at all, that makes them eligible to go and roll over their monies to an IRA. So that's the first one, is basically severing employment altogether. That would make them eligible. The second option is if they retired, if they were deemed retired. So let's say if this individual, they were working for the company, but now they stop working for the company and now they're deemed retired, and they don't, they're no longer utilizing that. That's no longer their employer. That is really similar to not working for that company anymore, but now it's on a retirement qualification, and therefore they could go and customize those IRAs, or they could customize one IRA or multiple IRAs specific for their benefit. I'm going to talk about like a couple of examples on why this is beneficial as opposed to not doing this. But the two main criteria, what individuals would allow individuals to roll over their 401k plans, and the rules behind it is if they're not working for those companies anymore. So if somebody has old 401ks, and we get this a lot where an individual says, yeah, I have an old 401k has been kind of sitting there for the last like 5 to 10 years. I just haven't really done anything with it. Well, they could have actually been receiving a lot better growth opportunity than with the limited funding options through their old 401k providing. So it's when they stop working for a company that obviously allows them to do a 401k rollover. The other is something known as an age-based withdrawal or an age-based rollover. And what I mean by that is, let's say if somebody hits age 59 and a half and they're still working for their company, they could still work for their company. They could still contribute into a 401k related plan with that company. But right when they hit age 59 and a half, many times, now this is not all companies, it really just depends upon the plan provider, it depends upon how the employer structured that 401k plan. But what happens is they're able to now roll over either all or a large portion of their existing 401k into an individual retirement account, or into a majority of individual retirement accounts. So you could have somebody that is working for a company, has been working for a company for 20 years. Now they have $500,000 sitting in their 401k related plan, and they say, well, I'm not going to retire yet. I'm age 60. I want to retire when I'm age 65. What they can do is go preserve these dollars, place it into an IRA account, gives them a lot more customizable options, and now from ages 60 to 65, they're still contributing to their 401k, but now their 401k is falling at $0 because they went and they rolled over into an IRA that just gives them more eggs in their basket to choose from. So that's something that's a very common term, is with an age-based, they call it an age-based withdrawal, but it would actually be an age-based rollover that allows somebody the eligibility to go and roll it over into an IRA account. Another scenario where someone might be eligible for a 401k rollover is when there's a change of a 401k provider. So let's say if you're working for an employer and you might have Fidelity as the company that is handling your 401k plan, and now you get a statement in the mail, you get a letter in the mail that says, okay, we're changing our plan over to principal group or T. Rowe Price. That might make individuals eligible to say, because we're changing our plan, our 401k provider, you're now eligible to roll over your old 401k into an IRA or roll your monies out of that 401k, so that when you start the new plan, you will basically start from scratch. The really good thing about that eligibility is it might not be based on age. An individual could be in their 30s and their 40s, and when they change that 401k plan provider to the employer, they'll have those same eligibility limits as if they hit, attained age 59 and a half or attained age 60. That allows them to do an in-service, rollover or age-based in-service rollover. Now, when I say that the 401k, if you go and let's say you had an old 401k, you rolled that over into an IRA, or your current 401k, you went and rolled that over into an IRA. If you're going and you're still contributing to your 401k plan, what exactly happens? And this is a misconception that individuals have, is they think that their match is all based on their overall account value. And that's not the case. Remember, it's contributions and rate of return that's going to equal this bucket. And a 401k employer match is designated as free money, essentially. It's an incentive that the company's trying to give the individual, saying, if you go and you place, like I mentioned before, let's say this person makes $100,000, and the company is stating that they'll give a 2% or a match to this employee to go and incentivize them to contribute into their 401k plan. That says anything up to 2% will get matched into that plan. So if they go and they add $5,000 into their 401k account for annual contributions that year, the company is also going to now provide $2,000 extra dollars, so therefore $7,000 is going to go into that plan. If, let's say, they only put in $1,000, well, it's up to a 2% match in that hypothetical example, so therefore another $1,000 is going to be set up as a match, and therefore $2,000 is going to be contributed in there. That contribution limit does not go away, or that match does not go away, all because you rolled over your 401k into an IRA account. So in the example that you have a 60-year-old and they want to retire at age 65, and let's say they currently have $500,000 sitting in their 401k account, they checked with their employee benefits, and they understand that they are eligible to do an age-based rollover. Well, now they could go and take the $500,000, customize that into either one IRA or multiple IRAs that are designated into a specific purpose that will accomplish their retirement goals successfully. As that happens, this $500,000 is now rolled over into a new IRA, so it's just rolled over into a new qualified retirement plan, but they still have 5 more years of contributions that they're going to be making to the 401k plan. So now the bucket is just starting from $0. If, let's say, with that same individual is making $100,000 and they were getting a 2% match, well, now starting from day one, if they put in $5,000 contribution and they're getting an extra $2,000, well, that's still $7,000 is still going in that bucket. It's not like you had a match that was based upon the overall $500,000. That $500,000 is already sitting in that bucket, or that's the money that was already rolled over. So it's not penalizing you by rolling your money out of the 401k into that IRA. It does not affect the match at all. And then obviously the rate of return is going to be growing with whatever the value of that account is based upon the contributions year by year. So now I want to go into some examples of how, when you do not set up your rollover the correct way, or you just try to stay consistent into the 401k, how that could hurt you. And then also when you do the rollover into an IRA, how that could help you. So we understand that with some of the 401k rollover rules, you could roll over old 401k accounts. So if you have this sitting at an old employer, you could obviously roll those monies over. We also said if you go and you change employers, or you stop working for a company, well, you could go and instantly move those monies out and place it either into the new 401k plan, or you could roll that over, those monies, into an IRA. We understand that there's age-based qualifications, meaning if, let's say, someone hits 59.5, they could usually take portions or all of those old 401k monies or all those 401k monies, place into an IRA and still contribute into their plan as they're still working for those companies for, a couple more years or, 10 more years or whatever that case might be. If you retire from a company, there's a way on how you could obviously take those old 401k dollars and roll those monies over. And then there's also something known as age 55 withdrawals that you have to be very careful on. And there's different benefits that you could do when you're age 55, making sure that you're taking actual withdrawals from a 401k and you're rolling over a specific portion into an IRA account. So even though this looks like really sloppy handwriting, I apologize for that. I want to go through each and show you the examples on why it might make sense from a pro and con standpoint of either leaving your monies in old accounts or, rolling those monies over. So if you have monies in an old 401k, you're going to be subject to those limited options, those eggs in your basket, the 5 to 25 different eggs in your basket to choose from. Majority of times 401k plans have really crappy funds. And majority of times 401ks are very expensive. So you're paying 401k related fees, you're paying those mutual fund related fees that are set up within those 5 to 25 different options to choose from. And you have limited options available to choose the best plethora of diversification, the best plethora of allocation in there to have a very positive interest growth. So many times what happens is this mutual fund performance or these funding options within old 401ks or within 401k accounts in general are all based upon the stock market going up. Well, there's two other guarantees in the stock market that can occur. The stock market could go sideways and the stock market could go down. So there's something known as a correlation or a correlation matrix with all types of funds and proper diversification. And it goes anywhere from -1 all the way to +1. So if you have accounts, if you have funds that are +1, that means that they're highly correlated. If you have funds that are -1, that means that there's negative correlation. So like the difference between, let's say, if the stock market's going up, well, then the bond market might be negatively correlated to that. If stocks are going down, well, maybe the bond market might be more favorable, and so that has a negative correlation as opposed to something known as like a small cap company versus a mid cap company who might have a very close to +1 correlation, saying that if the market's going up, small cap funds are going to go up, mid cap funds are going to be going up as well. So that all that correlation comes into play when you have those limited funding options. So when you have these old 401k accounts, yes, you could do the best job possible of picking these funds, but if you went and you took this old 401k and you rolled it over into an IRA, well, now you might have 3,000 different options to choose from. Ones that you could properly diversify into a combination of, stocks, bonds, commodities, real estate. Different things that might make you, might have a better diversification to say, if the market goes up, how do you receive a gain into your account? If the market goes sideways, how do you receive a gain into your account? If the market goes down, how do you receive a gain into your account? Making sure that you're having proper correlation matrix in there, making sure that you're segmenting your dollars into proper trends, so you're not just setting it and forgetting it, but you could utilize different, financial advisory firms and fiduciaries and fee-based planners to really help you out. Set up your allocation properly with these IRAs. Now, this is on a growth versus growth perspective. So obviously, if you have this old 401k and you want to try to grow that, well, you could correlate an IRA, specifically customized IRA, that gives you more eggs in your basket to choose from, something that might be cheaper funding options, something that will give you much higher quality and allow you to cherry pick, a much better portfolio, a much better platform. Same thing when you change employers. Many times when you change employers, the old employer might say, hey, listen, you have X amount of days that you have to now roll over your 401k plan, or they might say you can leave your 401k monies there. Well, Obviously, if you leave your monies in the old 401k account, you're subject to those same negatives that I just spoke about. When you change employers, you can go and roll it over into the 401k, but once again, you're going to fall victim to those same negatives I just spoke about. So that's why I recommend to typically go into an IRA that's more customizable for if you want to have, favorable growth or more consistent growth. There's different ways on how you can do that a little bit better than being limited to those options. So it's just, that whole egg theory. Do you want to have 5 to 25 eggs in your basket, or do you want to have 3,000 to 5,000 different eggs in your basket? Obviously, the more options, the better for individual situations. The next really important one, and this is what we deal with a lot, is age-based rollovers. And what I mean by that is, let's say if we have an individual that's age 60 and they want to retire at age 65. Well, there's 3 main criteria, and I talk about this in a lot of my videos. I say when somebody wants to accomplish confident retirement, there's 3 things that they have to make sure that they figure out before they're retired or currently retired and how to stay retired forever. Those 3 things are: they have to have plentiful amount of income sources, they have to have plentiful amount of emergency funds, and they also have to make sure that they have a type of inflationary plan to protect them from inflationary risk or purchasing power risk. So when somebody, let's say, hits their age-based rollover eligibility, part of the rollover rules, and let's say this person has $500,000 and they say, I'm 60 years old right now, I still want to work for this company until I'm age 65, but I want to make sure that I'm preserving these accounts properly. Well, it doesn't mean you have to go and roll it over into one IRA and just set it and forget it. You could actually segment this into many different IRA contracts to make sure that each IRA is serving its own purpose. First thing is income sources. Let's say if this individual wants to trigger income at age 65, well, and they have this $500,000 at age 60 right now. Well, we want to make sure that we're calculating what their expenses are going to be when they hit their retirement age. The reason why that's so important is because at age 65, if that's when they're not going to work, well, obviously they can't generate that income anymore. So now they have to rely on savings. They have to rely on different income sources to come to them to make sure that they're correlating to what their expenses are, to make sure that they're not running their well dry. They're not going through their accounts as fast as possible. So like in this example, let's say if this person has $50,000 of a need of expenses and they have $30,000 of Social Security income that's coming to them, maybe they have another $10,000 of pension income that's coming to them, well, that tells us that they have a gap of $10,000. Many times the best solution for this, for pure peace of mind, pure confidence, would be leveraging a small portion of their $500,000 into an IRA annuity contract that they would place their dollars in there at age 60, have a 5-year deferral that will produce them that $10,000 need, that $10,000 gap. So maybe out of this $500,000, it's going to cost them $100,000 into the top IRA annuity account with a 5-year deferral that will produce them $10,000 for the rest of their life. So with that being said, this is IRA number 1, is through an IRA annuity account, and that's just the first IRA. They have $400,000 remaining. The second one is emergency funds. Rule of thumb is you want to have anywhere between 6 to 12 months of emergency funds or of expenses set aside for emergency funds and liquid cash. So if $50,000 is their expenses, maybe they want to take $50,000 and just put into something that's not invested in the market. You're not really going to have any gains, but you're not going to have any losses. Just something like liquid cash that in case of an oh my gosh moment that occurs. So that maybe they could set aside $50,000 into an IRA money market account. So this is the second IRA with a money market account. Once again, so out of this, now they have $350,000 left over. The very last one is inflationary protection. Now this could be segmented through a couple different ways. They could use that whole old 401k plan where they're trying to diversify properly, making sure that they have managed money that's increasing their accounts at a systematic basis to say, okay, $50,000 might be my need at age 65, but some of these expenses are going to be fixed, some are going to be inflationary expenses. So maybe at age 67 that need is going to be $52,000 of income. Maybe at age 71 it's going to be $55,000 of income needed. So we want to make sure that there's enough money left over in those reserve accounts that this person could pull money out of to make sure that they're sufficing their inflationary need properly. They could also set up something known as an annuity laddering strategy, which might trigger a couple of thousand more at age 67, a couple thousand more at age 71, age 75, all of that, and they could take out small portions of this remaining 350 to make sure it's segmented into different annuities, and then add more dollars into that emergency fund so that they never have to worry about dealing with stock market losses or anything like that. They're allowing to utilize insurance-based products such as annuities to give them that income. So I'm all about whatever the person feels most comfortable with. If they want to go more of that managed money route on leg 3, well, this now shows, rather than just say, oh, 500,000, I'll just leave in my 401k and hope for the best. No, if you're segmenting your dollars properly with these 3 steps, you can have pure retirement confidence by the time age 65 rolls around, and know that, worst case scenario, you're covered. You have your expenses covered. You have sufficient amount of emergency funds. You have inflationary protection covered, and that's working on a much better compound interest with a lot less fees and better, higher quality than what your current 401k will provide you. The change of 401k provider was another type of 401k rollover rule. That's going to act just like the same thing with an old 401k. If you want to have, better eggs in your basket or more eggs in your basket, that's, obviously going to be more beneficial for you, that you could customize into an IRA account. And then the very last one, what I mentioned briefly, was an age 55 withdrawals. So the problem with, and a lot of individuals don't realize this, is with 401k plans, if you're age 55 or older, you could actually pull monies out of a 401k plan. If, let's say, you stop working, so if you were deemed retired, and let's say you're either working for a new company or you're deemed retired, let's say you're 57 years old, and you need to pull out some money from your 401k plan. Many times advisors say, okay, well, take your 401k and roll it over into an IRA. The reason why that could actually be costly and be a detriment to your situation is because IRA accounts have something known as 59.5 rules. So there's a way that this person could go and leave the correct portion into their 401k account, take withdrawals because they've already sufficed, they've hit their retirement age or they're deemed retired through that employer plan, where they could take out distributions for, let's say if they're age 57, they could take out systematic distributions for the next 3 years out of their 401k, and then whatever that portion is that's remaining, that's the money that they could roll over into their IRA. So what exactly do I mean by that? And let me clear up the screen real quick. Let's say if we have an individual that is, age 57, and let's say they have 500,000 that's currently sitting in their 401k account, and they already retired. So they say, I need income to last me for the rest of my life. I need $10,000 of income, of extra income to last me for the rest of my life. Well, maybe in this example, we say, okay, well, let's put your 401k monies into something very conservative so it's not going to lose any money. And maybe we'll leave about $50,000 in that 401k. And then we could take the remaining $450,000 and either maximize that out into multiple IRA contracts or just roll that over into one IRA contract or account. And the reason why this is beneficial is because if you went and you took this full $500,000 and rolled it into an IRA, and then this person tried pulling monies out from their IRA at age 57, they're going to get hit with full taxation, and each distribution that they take is going to get dinged with a 10% IRS penalty. So that's a big no-no. That's something that's what I call shooting yourself in the foot. So if we go and we segment those dollars properly, and we say, okay, well, let's leave $50,000 into the 401k, and maybe pull out $10,000 at age 57, $10,000 at age 58, $10,000 at age 59, and then after age 59, you could roll over the remaining portion into that existing IRA account. I like to try to give a little bit extra of a cushion, and then at age 60, you have this $450,000 that was able to grow for 3 years, plus the remaining $20,000 that you didn't use up in the 401k plan that is now growing, and you could take out withdrawals. You could have different withdrawal maximization strategies segmented properly. What this does is when you go and you leave those portions, as long as you're above the age of 55 and you're taking the monies from a 401k account, this money would not get hit with a 10% penalty. This money would not get hit with the 10% penalty. This money would not get hit with the 10% penalty, because you're basically taking out, you're utilizing the best withdrawal rules from the 401k and making sure that you're rolling over the correct portion into the IRA. There's so many times that this mistake is made, and it's not only made with 401k plans, it's made with 457 plans, it's made with 403b accounts, where individuals do not realize, thrift savings plans, individuals do not realize that they are eligible to actually pull out monies underneath the cuff before that 59.5 from that type of qualified retirement account, rather than shoot themselves in the foot and roll them all into an IRA. An IRA is good because it's customizable, but some instances it doesn't make sense to put everything into the IRA. It might make more sense to just leave those monies in the 401k account, just so you could take out the systematic withdrawals before that 59.5 rule. So, once again, I really hope that you found value in this video. If you did, please feel free to give our 1-800 number a call. It's 1-800-566-1002. We offer 24/7 customer service. And when calling in, you say, you basically going to speak to a specialist. Say, I saw something online about 401k rollover rules, and I wanted to, try to talk to somebody about it. We utilize a different process altogether. We try to educate first and really help you guys see what your current situation is, what your goals are, uncover what your goals are, and see if you could reach your goals successfully, or does it make sense to do certain rollovers to make sure that you're setting it up like a perfect puzzle piece. So when we're looking at the 30,000-foot view and looking at your situation, we might say, okay, well, we want to put you in this lane, and this lane, and then this lane that works like a perfect puzzle piece that fits for your ideal retirement, for pure retirement confidence. I believe this is why we are A+ rated on the Better Business Bureau. We've always had very good reviews. We've never had any complaints. It's because of this methodical process. One of the most efficient ways on how you could actually set an appointment with a specialist is if you go to our website, retiresharp.com or afassifinancial.com. It all brings you to the same place. So when navigating to the site, you're going to see a little icon on the bottom right that will pop up and it'll say schedule your appointment or book your strategy session. So you could actually go navigate, look at our digital calendar, and then you could have a more concrete time and deal with a specialist that way. And you would just put in the notes section, say, I'm interested in doing 401k rollover, or whatever that case may be. But, we try to give you guys free literature pieces, free personalized videos, all these different things to make sure that you're comfortable every step of the way. You understand that, we're going to be non-biased towards our recommendations. We're going to give you the best strategies, the best product lines, and that's the way that we believe that financial planning has to be set up success. So if you found value in this video, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you can have access to the most updated videos. And once again, if it's just even something that you want to have a second opinion on, if you're kind of frustrated with your current planning, or you just want to have some different insight and different recommendations, that's what we're here for, is to try to help you guys out every step of the way. So thank you very much for watching this video, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.